Welcome to Mystery Mug, an abandoned Alaskan village, whispers in the dark, and a creature that doesn't just watch. You'll never guess how they survived the night. The ferry glided through the icy waters, a speck of humanity in the vast Alaskan wilderness. 5 explorers huddled on its deck, their gear stacked behind them, their breaths visible in the cold. Portlock awaited, a place shrouded in mystery and fear. The captain, an older man with sharp eyes that seemed to peer through the mist, leaned against the wheel. His words were clipped, his voice low. 2 days, that's all I'll give you. I'll be back the morning after tomorrow. Ben, the survivalist, adjusted his gear. What if we finish early? The captain's lips pressed into a grim line. You won't. Sarah, ever the skeptic, smirked. What's that supposed to mean? It's just an abandoned village. The captain's gaze darkened. This place doesn't like visitors. It remembers. As the ferry approached the rotting dock, the air grew colder. No birds flew overhead, no waves lapped the shore. The dock groaned under their weight as they disembarked. The captain lingered just long enough to mutter one final warning. If you hear it, ignore it. If you see it, run. With a sputter of the engine, the ferry disappeared into the mist, leaving them alone. The village of Portlock was a place of decay and dread. Sagging cabins leaned into the earth, their roofs caved in. Rusting tools lay scattered, and nets hung like forgotten ghosts. The forest loomed, its branches clawing at the edges of the ruins. Jason raised his camera, narrating softly. Portlock, Alaska. Once a bustling fishing village, now a place frozen in fear. But why? The team moved cautiously. At the edge of the village, Ben found something that stopped them in their tracks. A set of massive footprints pressed deep into the mud. Each print was nearly twice the size of a man's foot, the depth suggesting something impossibly heavy. They're fresh, Alex muttered, glancing toward the forest. Whatever made these, it's still here. Near an old cabin, claw marks gouged into the wood caught Lily's eye. They were high, too high for a bear. The wood splintered outward, as if something massive had raked its claws across it. Sarah scoffed, but her voice wavered. Bears, right? Just big, angry bears. Lily didn't respond. Her gaze lingered on the claw marks, her expression unreadable. As the sun dipped behind the mountains, the team set up camp in the village square. A fire crackled in the center, its light casting flickering shadows on the skeletal remains of the cabins. They ate in silence, the air around them heavy with unspoken fear. Jason finally broke the tension. So, what's everyone's theory? Ghosts? Monsters? Angry spirits? Ben stared into the fire. Whatever it is, it's territorial. Sarah rolled her eyes. It's probably just an animal. A big one, sure, but animals don't haunt villages. Lily's voice was quiet. Then why did an entire village abandon this place? As if in response, the wind picked up, carrying with it a faint, mournful whistle. The team fell silent, straining to listen. Then came the whispers, faint, overlapping, distorted, as if carried on the wind but originating from no clear direction. Jason leaned forward, his voice trembling. Do you hear that? The whispers grew louder, circling the camp. Words were impossible to discern, but the malice behind them was unmistakable. Then came the footsteps, heavy, deliberate, far too slow to belong to anything human. The fire flickered unnaturally, dimming and brightening, as if reacting to the unseen presence. From the darkness beyond the firelight came a loud crack, a branch snapping under immense weight. The team froze, their flashlights darting toward the sound. Something moved at the edge of the light, a shadow, impossibly large. Back to the tents, Lily whispered, her voice trembling but firm. Inside their tents, the team huddled, their breaths shallow. The growls started low, rumbling through the ground. Heavy footsteps circled the camp. Then came the chattering, inhuman, guttural, and mocking. Jason peeked out of his tent, his camera in hand. In the distance, glowing eyes caught the light. He scrambled back inside. Something's out there, he whispered harshly. Moments later, a deafening roar shattered the silence, vibrating through the air. The tent walls rippled as something heavy brushed against them. The whispers returned, louder now, as if the voices were inside their minds. When the fire extinguished itself, plunging the camp into darkness, panic set in. When dawn finally broke, the forest fell eerily silent. The fire pit was nothing but cold ash, their gear scattered. Fresh footprints surrounded the camp, larger, deeper, and more deliberate than before. "We can't stay another night here," Alex said, his voice shaking. But Lily pointed toward the forest. "If we're going to understand this, we need to follow the tracks." The trail led them deeper into the woods. The trees grew denser, their branches tangling overhead like a cage. The air became colder, heavier. A sickly scent of decay filled their noses. The tracks finally ended in a clearing. In the center stood a crude shelter made of logs and hides. Bones, both animal and human, littered the ground. And then, it emerged. The creature was massive, its fur matted with moss and dirt. Its glowing eyes burned with intelligence and malice. It stepped forward, letting out a low, guttural growl that reverberated through their bodies. The team froze, paralyzed with fear. The creature stood tall, calculating, and then it roared, a sound so powerful it shook the ground beneath their feet. "Run!" Lily screamed. The team stumbled back to the village, their breaths ragged. They barricaded themselves inside the largest cabin. Old furniture, broken tools, anything they could find to block the doors and windows. But the creature wasn't done with them. Heavy footsteps approached. The walls of the cabin shook as the creature slammed into them. Its growls grew louder, more frenzied. On the roof, its claws scraped against the wood, the sound like nails on a chalkboard. "We can't stay here," Ben shouted. The barricade splintered, and the team fled into the night. The forest seemed alive, its branches clawing at them as they ran. The creature's roars echoed, closer with every step. The team stumbled through the dark forest, their breaths ragged, the roars of the creature echoing behind them. Every snap of a branch, every rustle of leaves sent waves of panic through them. They pushed forward, their flashlights trembling in their hands. Finally, they broke through the tree line, collapsing onto the rocky shore. They weren't safe, but at least they could see the open water. Desperate, they set up a small fire, its weak flames their only comfort against the oppressive night. The hours dragged on like days, every second filled with dread. They huddled together, backs to the water, their eyes fixed on the tree line, waiting. The creature's presence was palpable. Low growls reverberated through the forest, its glowing eyes appearing and disappearing in the mist. And then the distant horn of the ferry cut through the silence, a lifeline in the chaos. Relief surged through them, though the minutes before it arrived felt like an eternity. When the ferry finally emerged from the mist, they didn't hesitate. Stumbling onto the dock, their legs trembling, they scrambled aboard. From the mist they saw it, the creature's glowing eyes, watching from the shore. The captain helped them aboard, his expression grim. "You saw it, didn't you?" he asked. No one answered. As the ferry pulled away, Portlock vanished into the fog. But even as they reached open water, the whispers followed, faint, persistent, unmistakable. Back in civilization, the team reviewed their footage. Much of it was corrupted, images distorted, audio lost. But one frame remained clear. It showed the clearing, the crude shelter, and the creature. Its glowing eyes burned into the camera lens. Portlock remains abandoned, its secrets buried deep in the Alaskan wilderness, and those who venture too close may not return to tell the tale. And there you have it, another mystery brewed to perfection. If you enjoyed sipping on today's tale, don't let the intrigue end here. Hit that subscribe button to keep your mug filled with new mysteries every week. Give this video a like if it got you thinking, and drop a comment below. What's your theory? We'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you've ever had a mysterious experience of your own, share it with us in the comments. Who knows, it might just be featured in our next brew. Until next time, keep your mugs warm and your minds open, because the truth is always brewing here on the Mystery Mug channel.